Hey guys, Becky here with Teach at Home. Today I'm just going to show you the books I've chosen for my son's 2017-2018 school year. My son is going into 10th grade, and you'll notice this year that we have a lot of Beck because we're going through Beck Academy with the DVDs, and through that program you can pick up to 6 courses, so we have chosen 5. So let's take a look at what we've got. Here are also a couple of extra things that are going to be used this year. On the left are the video manuals for the Beck Academy classes, and I'll show you a little bit more about those in case you're not familiar with those. And on the right are a couple of DVD programs we're using outside of Beck, and I'll talk about those with the appropriate subjects. Alright, so the first class we're going to be talking about today is English. You can see the 3 big blue books that are the student texts for the class, and this is one of our Beck courses. You can also see we've got 2 books there. We've got Julius Caesar by William Shakespeare and Animal Farm by George Orwell. Julius Caesar was included with the Beck curriculum. And they also included Silas Marner, but because my son read that last year, we're doing Animal Farm instead. So let me just show you the books. First we've got Grammar and Composition. And this is more of a workbook with different exercises. The teacher on the video goes over the various skills, and then they have exercises they have to do pertaining to that lesson. And then we've got the World Literature book, and I didn't really think I was going to enjoy this for my son in terms of him doing this instead of a number of different novels, but as she's going through it, I'm kind of warming up to it. This has a bunch of different stories and excerpts of different pieces of writing. So he's getting exposure to a lot of different authors and a lot of different, just a lot of different types of literature. I know he isn't thrilled with it, but it is actually a good way to do it. And then Vocabulary, Spelling, Poetry 4. This is basically very similar to all the other spelling poetry books that he's had so far, because we've gone up through 3. And there are different lists, which I can't find. Of course I can't find it. Oh my goodness. I guess they're not as bold the way they were. I guess they are laid out a little bit differently. There are different lists for each unit. Then they have different exercises they have to do. And then they have the definitions and parts of speech, and they have later on, I think, things like the prefixes. Yeah, right here. Prefixes, roots, suffixes they have to learn. So they're learning more than just the spelling of it. And then at the end of the book, there are various poems, and these are set along with the class every day with the Beck DVD for English, and then they have several lessons where they get to do that, and then they have to recite it as part of a grade. And then Julius Caesar, pretty self-explanatory. Animal Farm, I actually did buy a separate like reading guide, teacher reading guide kind of thing that has tests and questions and activities in it. So we will be doing this a little bit more in depth. And then I have to work around the Silas Marner part of the video to do this one. So I haven't quite figured out how I'm going to do that, but I have to do it pretty quickly because they just started this past week on Friday, and tomorrow is Monday, and they're really going to get into that part of English this week. So we'll see how that works out. That's English for this year. Alright, the next class I am going to talk to you about is Advanced Mathematics. This is a Saxon book. And we have here the student text and the solutions manual. There's also something called the Homeschool packet, and I'll talk to you about that in a minute. For Advanced Mathematics, we're doing the second half of this book this year. It's recommended by Art Reed, who does the DVDs, which are right here, to do Advanced Mathematics as a 2-year course, so that is what we are doing. So I think we started this year with lesson 69, and I think it goes up to like a lesson 120, 121, something like that. So this is, if you're not familiar with Saxon, the student text, and basically it's set up so there are various lessons. They have the lesson, and then it tells what skills are going to be learned in each lesson, and then it does one at a time. It shows how to do it, talks about how to do it, and then it usually gives sample problems, examples of the skill being used, and then the solutions for those. And then what they do, they'll move on to the next topic, do the same thing, although you can see this one doesn't have the examples, and then on to the next topic where they do the same thing. And then they have the problem set, which are basically the problems that the student has to work on. And when you're doing it as a, like if you're doing it as a 2-year course where you're doing half the book each year, then you do each problem set for 2 days. Now what I do is my son does the learning and then the odd problems the first day, and then the second day he does the even problems. And then I've set it up now, starting last year with this book, he started doing the checking of the work himself. That's what the solutions manual is for. The solution manual has all the answers and all the work for each problem of each problem set. So if your child doesn't know how to do it, or if you are the one checking their work and you don't know how to do it, you can follow along with their work and make sure that what they're doing is correct. And you can see they make it nice and easy that the answers are in bold. So if you're just checking answers, you can find it pretty easily. But then the work is there also, so you know how to do it and they know how to do it. Like I said, I've given my son more responsibility in going over these himself at the end, the second day of each lesson, so I don't have to do that part anymore. I also told you that there is also a third book included. The third book is called the Homeschool packet, and that book, which I should have had here but I don't, that book has all the answers for all the problem sets, I believe, but it doesn't have any of the work shown with it. And the Homeschool packet also has all the test answers and the work for the tests in there. So he never gets to see the Homeschool packet. I only use that for grading the tests, because obviously I still grade the tests. And these are the only two he uses. And then because of the nature of the math, I think I taught up till the end of Algebra 2 using the book. I would use the book and use a lot of their methods, but I would also throw in my own knowledge of how to do things, maybe give them some shortcuts. But as we get up in math, I don't feel comfortable straying away from their methods too much. This, starting with this book. Last year he started using the Art Read DVDs, so he goes through the lesson, teaches how to do it, and then does some example problems. So this is actually the first set of the DVDs for this book, and this actually, last year I misstated it. I said it goes up to lesson 60, but this actually goes up to lesson 90. So I have a good, probably couple months worth of lessons here, and then I'll have to order the second set so we can finish off the book for the rest of the year. But if you're looking for a way to teach Saxon, then Art Read is pretty good. And if you're not interested in him, Christian Book also has the Dive CD, which was included with the initial package for advanced mathematics. So that's our math for this year, and that's what my son will be using. The next subject I have to show you is my son's science for this year, and we've chosen to do physics, and this is another Beck course. You can see here we've got the laboratory manual and then the student text. So the laboratory manual basically just has the procedure for the lab and tells what's needed and all that. And then it has actual report sheets that have to be filled out. And then questions at the end that have to be answered, showing they learned something and understand the lab. And these labs are done on the videos for the Beck Academy lessons. And usually they don't have much else on the day they do the labs, they just do the labs. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I think that's the extent of what they do on the lab days. I kind of like that. Last year we did all the labs ourselves, and sometimes it can be fun and sometimes it can be kind of a pain, but either way it's usually pretty time consuming. So the fact that it's kind of already set up in a classroom and that the instructor, you know, has probably done the lab multiple times, is just a lot easier to do the labs that way, just by having my son watch the video. I know it's not as, you know, involved or as interesting when you're not actually doing it yourself, but sometimes when you're homeschooling, certain things just have to be the way they are, just so, you know, you have the time and the energy to get through the day. So, yep, we took the easy way out with the way the labs are this year. This is the text. And as far as textbook goes, it looks like it's pretty decent. It's colorful, it's got pictures, breaks everything down into decent sections. I actually was kind of happy. I didn't really have to pick out a specific science this year. I already knew we were going to do physics, having done chemistry last year, and I was going to put biology off another year. And since physics was offered as part of the Beck plan, I just decided to go with them. So that's our science for the year. This is our Bible curriculum for this year for 10th grade. Bible doctrines for today. And this is another Abeka class. And it also includes Sing His Praise, hymns, and choruses. This book is set up so there are different sections. If I can find it. Divided by different areas, as you can see here. And then it has various readings for those areas. There are also various Bible verses they have to learn every few days, and those are given out separately. I don't think they're in here. And then obviously the teacher teaches sorry about that. The teacher teaches various things regarding the different sections. And then I kind of like that the Sing His Praise hymns and choruses is included with this. It has a wide range of different hymns. It includes their lyrics and it includes the music. And if you're not familiar with the Beck Academy, the way they do this on the videos is they have a kid from their class come up and tell what the hymn is going to be, and then the music starts, and then they'll show all those kids singing the hymn, and your child is supposed to sing along with them. I kind of like that it's done that way. Kind of like that my son gets exposure to different hymns, even though he doesn't like that he gets exposure to different hymns. But it's pretty cool to start out a lesson that way. So overall, pretty happy with this so far. And that's what we're using. Alright, so this course is Introductory Logic. This was my son's choice for an elective this year. We're actually doing it as a half credit, half year course. And for this, I really wasn't sure where to start in finding a logic class when my son said he was interested in taking logic. And when he said he was interested in taking logic, I think I kind of was just like stunned and kind of worried, because this is not along my lines of interest at all, and I really wasn't even sure where to look. And I happened to mention it to someone, and they mentioned there was something on christianbook.com, so I looked at what they had recommended and actually stumbled upon this, and I thought this one actually looked more along the styles of how I would want to teach it. So this is Introductory Logic, and this is by James B. Nance and Douglas Wilson. And this has the teacher edition, student handbook, and if you want, you can include the video course with the different lessons taught by a teacher. So, like I said, this isn't something in my comfort area of teaching. I really have never studied logic specifically before, other than, you know, a few different math lessons. So when I found out it had a DVD, I was happy to buy that to go along with this. The teacher edition does have a schedule included with it. I'm just seeing if I can find that. Quick. Oh, there it is. Okay. So they either have the 1 semester option or the full year option, and then it tells you, breaks it down specifically into weeks and every day of the week and what you'll be doing or having your student do on those days. So makes it really easy to plan out, really easy to break down into, you know, the lessons, because it's kind of already done for you. And then the student book includes the reading of the lesson, and a lot of this is taught on the DVD, but I do make my son I was having him read it, but he said he had read the whole thing in like a minute, and I think he just kind of skimmed it. So I started, we read it together. I either read it to him, or I have him read sections and I read sections. That way I know he's getting through all the text properly. And then I have him watch the DVD. And then at the end of the lesson, they do have an exercise for him to work on. That just goes over the concepts that were learned. And then they have a unit review, and the unit review is really pretty extensive. His very first test, they do have quizzes every couple of lessons or something like that, but they do have tests. This one was on the introduction through lesson 5, so they actually have 2 or 3 or more, I guess, review pages for each lesson. I was going to have him do all this, but he looked at it and was kind of disgusted with all the work he saw here. So I told him if he really felt comfortable with it, he didn't have to do it all, but if he got a less than stellar grade, next big test he would have to go through the entire review packet. So hopefully that works out with him not having to do all the review. I kind of wanted him to do all the reviews because he hasn't had the best quiz scores, but he seemed to do okay on the tests, so I guess we'll just wait and see how it goes with the next few lessons and the quiz and all that. If not, I guess we'll have to change things up and maybe just find additional exercises for him to do, maybe talk about it a little bit more. So far, I think he's liking it, other than that review lesson. And so it was kind of interesting to me as well. So I'm learning a little bit, despite the fact that it's not my thing. But there you go, Introductory Logic. Alright, so this is our history, social studies curriculum for this year. And yes, this is another one of our Beck courses. I think it's typical that students take world history in 10th grade. So it wasn't really a matter of what is being taught, but what book we're using. And since we were doing a Becca, it just made sense to use a Becca. And a Becca is usually what I choose to go with for history most of the time anyway, even when we were branching out more and doing less of Becca items. So it's a good chance we probably would have picked this even if we weren't going through a Beck Academy. This is a typical Becca history book. Different sections, lots of bold words, maps, pictures. Everything a history book should be. And I think the video teacher gives a lot of background and side information, so makes it a good complete course. And I really don't think there's anything else that goes along with this. I'm unsure if whether or not I'm going to include, extra DVDs and materials in with the curriculum or not, just because time, I guess. But if something comes up where I think something good might really fit into this, I might end up doing it, have them watch something or listen to something or something along those lines. So there it is, World History for 10th grade. Okay, this is the final course I have to show you today. This is my son's foreign language for the year, Spanish 2. I actually think he might have gotten away with Spanish 3, but they don't have anything beyond Spanish 2 with the Becca, and I couldn't afford the hundreds of dollars it would take to have him take the class I really wanted him to take. So I figured this was a good year to do it as review, and I know there's vocabulary in here that he doesn't know, so I thought he could get a better grasp of vocabulary and get a good feel for any verb tenses he might not be comfortable with at this point. So these are two of the different texts. You notice this one says Spanish 2A. This is for the first half of the year. And then there's one that's very similar that says Spanish 2B for the second half of the year. So both of these books are kind of fun in my thinking. They do have lots of words, but they do have lots of different charts. And then these are kind of used each lesson for conversation practice. So I work with him on these. We each have to ask each other questions and answer those, so he gets conversation practice. And these I don't especially like. These are supposed to be like different forms. You're supposed to be making you know, verbs, or in this case it's like the pronouns go with, but it's kind of hard to tell what the pictures are. I think it'd be easier if it just said yo or el or ella or nosotros, and you kind of have to decode the pictures to make the right form of the word they want. So I think he maybe has gotten that down, but if I'm looking at it quick, I haven't figured it out, so I don't know what they're supposed to be. I guess later on there's just a bunch of actual reading, more information about like culture and geography and that kind of thing, give them some more background and in-depth information. And then they've got the vocabulary manual, which I really enjoy because it has a lot of different pictures in it to help you get a visual for the different words. I don't think my son is liking it as much, but I don't know, for me it's a good way to learn, so I really like that they did this. They also do have vocabulary review in the beginning, so he knows a lot of these words, but he also doesn't know a lot of these words, so that's where he needs to, you know, pick up some slack in regarding what he knows. It's just, you know, so many different curriculums introduce vocabulary lists and words and subjects in so many different ways that it's really easy to, you know, not know certain words that other ones use. So I like that it has this review up in the front, so it kind of gives us an idea what he needs to know that he might not. So yeah, I think overall, seems like it's a pretty good course. There's time for lots of, you know, actual talking where they get to follow the class, and there's a lot of talking where he gets to, you know, if they were in a class, they would get to talk with each other, but my son will, you know, interact, have conversations with me, and we kind of, you know, practice the different skills that way. So that's our Spanish for this year, and that's 10th grade. Okay, so now that I've shown you all the different courses my son is taking, I just wanted to show you these in case you're not familiar with the Beck Academy. Because these were new to me this year, and at first looking at these was like very stressful. They actually have another set of these books. I mean, they look very similar. I think, I'm not even sure what they're called. It just might be called course manual or something. But all these books have a lot of writing in them, especially at the beginning. It tells you about, you know, grading different things. Descriptions of different things, responsibilities of the teacher if you're actually in a class setting. This one's Bible. It has actual prayer time, so it tells you about how they want you to do that. So opening this up, I was kind of just like a bit overwhelmed, and you know, you've got five of these and then 5 of the other ones, and I kind of just set them aside for like a month before I even actually opened them and started to get into them. But I think I found a way that works well for me to work with them, and I've kind of, you know, got a good feel for them, so they're a lot easier to go along with now. But in case you haven't seen them, it has a setup, so it has the lessons and it numbers the lessons. Obviously it doesn't have the date because that's going to vary for everybody, but you can see that I have written in here the day of the week and the actual date. And I've done that for everyone. I actually haven't gone through the whole book to do it, but the week before I go through and add the date and the day of the week, so I know I'm following the right one on that day. And then as we go through the week, you can see I just put a brief line through it so I know I can, kind of quickly look and see what the next one is without having to sit there and, remember what day it is. So you can see I've crossed off all those because we've gone through those. And then, if necessary, this is the Bible one. They don't have any actual anything planned for the Fridays, so it's kind of up to me what I plan. So I've written in, what I plan to do that day. And then I found that I was kind of, with all the wording and everything, I was kind of missing when they were having quizzes and things. The video does tell you that, so then I'd have to run upstairs and go get it. But I've just decided to underline any quizzes, tests, or anything that is due on a certain day, so that way I can pull it out and have it ready ahead of time, and also so on that day I'm fully prepared to give that to him. And I've also, I can't show it in this one because it doesn't work, but like for history, if I just open up to a page we've already been, you can see there's a lot more red, and then there's highlighting. So the red, you can see I got quizzes, I got map projects underlined here, there's a test here, there's an appendix quiz that's basically like a pop quiz kind of thing. So those really stand out for me, so I can see right away what's going on that day. And then I've got the work that's supposed to be done during the homework checks I've highlighted, because I've taken to pushing these to the day before, since my son doesn't like doing them right after the homework check. So I actually make this part of the homework for the day before. You can see this was from Wednesday, so I actually would have made this part of Tuesday night's homework, and then it'll already be done and prepared for Wednesday. So other than that, I've kind of found a good method for using these. Like I said, it's all broken down into lessons, and then you can just use them for whatever day you want. Right now it's really easy because I haven't skipped any days, so everything's nice. Every lesson divisible by 5 is ending on a Friday, but if for some reason I skip a day and we don't do work on a certain day, then that schedule, that feels kind of be off. It's gonna throw me off a little bit, but for the most part they don't do things the same day every week. Like they don't have a quiz every Tuesday, they don't have a quiz or a test every Friday, which is kind of how I would schedule things. So I don't think it's gonna throw me off as much as it would if I were the one planning it. So once I get a feel for these, I kind of like them. Makes life a lot easier for me. It's already planned out. Everything's already got a day and a spot, and that's kind of the whole point, I guess. So video manuals made to make life easy. Alright, that's our curriculum for 10th grade. Hope it helps you. Maybe it'll help you discover a new curriculum, new subject. Thanks for watching. Bye.